The following podcast contains opinion and commentary protected under the First Amendment and fair use, as well as the public records and freedom of information laws. The content may include adult themes, concepts, or language not suitable for all audiences. Viewer discretion is advised. Welcome everyone back to your favorite cubbyhole on the internet. We are starting the week off with a little bit of a bang, I suppose, or at least a crash out. Yet again, that's right, David S. Gingras,
the fucking douche canoe,
has crashed out yet again. Can you believe it? Yes, we can. And if I had any sense whatsoever, I'd put up a stopwatch. I'd put up a calendar and a stopwatch, number of days since David Gingras has crashed out and deleted all of his socials. And then we should have a number of days that David is on his socials. We could have an entire series of numbers of what David's been up to. So as you can see, this is from Seeking Justice for All Victims of Laura Owens on Blue Sky, Especial. And they say it isn't so. Looks like David Gingras deactivated his X and Blue Sky accounts. Laugh, laugh, giggle, giggle, giggle. But we know it won't be the end. He's got other cases going on, and people are talking about those too. Guess he can't take the heat or facts and evidence when it's thrown in his face. Please stage an intervention for this man. Get him to treatment. And Arizona Bar, do your job and suspend his law license. Can we do more than suspend it, please? Can we just yank it? Let's just revoke it entirely. And then they say, enough already. So yes, David Gingras has crashed out so far that he's even taken down his YouTubes. Yeah, the secret list that we had access to is no longer available. And as you might also guess, because he crashed out so far, he has also scrubbed the David Gingras Law Office PLLC blog page. So now there's only the two. We have the right to remain silent, but should I, from September 8th, and his trash talking of Judge Julie Mata from December 16 of 2024. So he's gone through and scrubbed everything, yet again. But are we done with him? No, we are not. I am not done with him by any stretch of the imagination, because we're still catching up. Yes, we're behind. I know, but I don't feel alone. I think others are behind as well, because there has been a lot in the last week or so, and there's a lot to catch up on. So we're going to read through his last filing before the hearing that occurred on Friday, this past Friday, the 10th, dismissing him from being involved in this case and dismissing all of his nonsense. We covered that briefly. Others have covered it. If you want a little bit more in-depth coverage, specifically just for that one thing, the DVRO hearing, go see Lauren Neidigh. I'll tack a link below to that particular episode of Lauren's where she talks to, I think it was Steve with two E's and a V, who was in attendance, but barely so, when that hearing took place. And that was a great short little watch. It's worth it if you want to know sort of the ins and outs of what happened at the DVRO. Essentially, everything was either tabled or dismissed, including the 475 motion, the 425 motion, the original dismissal request. So this will go to trial. It will go to trial on October 21st. Laura Owens was denied her continuance or any of her other nonsense. So this thing is going forward. It is going forward with poor widow Laura Owens going all by herself. Yes, she's got to speak for herself now, like a big girl. Put on those big old panties. Got to speak for herself. We don't have David Jingy. Jingy's not going to help you in this one no more. Oh, if he tries, he's going to be in big trouble. Laura's got to take off the Huggies, the training potty pants, and she's got to do her own dirty work. And I suspect it will not go very well for her in that hearing. So let's read this funny little thing because it's worth reading. It's certainly somewhat humorous from a standpoint of, well, it's useless paper now, but just for the sake of, continuance and argument and thoroughness. We like to be thorough. We're a completionist to some extent around here. So we will leave David in the dustbin of history for the DVRO with this filing. And at the end of this, we'll talk about more recent things that occurred over the weekend. Towards the end of last weekend and the beginning of the weekend, I gave myself sort of the weekend off. I was helping friends doing some shopping for appliances and looking at new houses and doing some other stuff on Sunday. Had a busy full weekend not thinking about this case. But things did happen. I did cover it on my post, my community post on my YouTube page. Follow that once in a while. If you haven't hit the like and subscribe already, make sure you also hit that bell, because we do use all of the utilities and features that YouTube affords us to keep you notified of things going on in this case, including when I make little postings on my channel. So be sure to follow those. The last one, of course, talked about the biggest hubbub of the week, which was David Gingras saying nasty, awful, vile, fantasizing criminal actions against Omar and his family and Dave Neal and his family. They were horrific. They were uncalled for. They were starting to pee on that electric fence of legal lines. And of course, not long thereafter, David deletes everything. So I think he knew that was going to get him in trouble, and he decided to scrub everything while he was at it, as only he can do after he's gone into one of his little slap fights. But I did have someone make a comment on that post saying, this stuff should never be talked about. It shouldn't be platformed anywhere. None of it should be said. And while true, David never should have said those things, it is within our prerogative to talk about those things because they are important to talk about. Not because we want to platform them, but because we need to call out absolutely horrific behavior by an attorney, someone who is licensed to practice law in the state of Arizona and California, respectively, who engages in such horrific conduct. It certainly, absolutely violates ethical codes and codes of conduct in both states. So this should turn into further action by the bar against David Gingras. I'm not going to bring up those comments. I posted them in my post. That was enough for actually posting them. But they were absolutely nasty, disgusting, vile, criminally minded things. And if anyone were to even work towards enacting those awful things David Gingras posted, you would be in prison. And I mean, that's an immediate revocation of his law license. Anyhow, I don't know if he, like his former client, Laura Owens, desperately wants to be in prison or what it is. It's certainly not normal. It's certainly not normal lawyer behavior. We have said that many times about him in this case. Evidently, there's another case involving him and someone named Cody Wilson, which I'm just starting to sniff out a little bit because, well, you know, there's a parallel here. That being David Gingras. So I think that's enough talking about what he decided to post. You can go back and review what he said. You could be as horrified as absolutely everybody else was. It was awful, awful stuff. But we support Omar. We support Dave. I'm sure if they felt the need to do anything, they did. Maybe that's what led to David Gingras crashing out and wiping his socials yet again. If we find an official answer, you will hear it here, if not elsewhere first. That's just the way it goes. So let's, just for the sake of almost reminiscing, now that it's sort of several days later, read the filing that he made on October 7th. And this is just ahead of the October 10 hearing that took place last Friday. And for those of you who hate David Gingras' AI voice, I will spare you this one. But only this once. Well, maybe not. It's only because StreamYard and VoiceMod have done major updates and all of my settings have changed, and I haven't gone through and reset them and cleaned them up again yet. So you're getting spared on a technicality. So you're lucky for today. For those of you who like the voices, I'm sorry. You'll just have to imagine them differently. Maybe I'll use a slurred Texan douche canoe voice. We'll see. I'll get started, and if I slip into it, it'll just happen. It just kind of comes over me, sort of like a wash of inspiration. I never quite know when it wants to strike. But here we go. This is from non-party intervener. Yuck, 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 yuck. There's no such thing as a non-party intervener, at least not in this application, in my opinion. Let's just skip the rambling nonsense at the beginning. This was prior to the hearing on June 10. We already said that. The introduction. As everyone knows, motions for sanctions are common, and they are routinely denied. In most cases, that's fair when lawyers doth protest too much. Oh, he's so dramatic. Already, in the first sentence, well, second sentence, technically, we have a Shakespearean reference. I'm impressed. This case is very different. To understand why, this court needs to know about something called Justice for Clayton, or JFC. JFC is an online cult devoted to one single purpose, destroying the life of petitioner Laura Owens. By extension, the JFC cult is also obsessed with destroying the career of undersigned counsel. Well, he doesn't need any help from any of us. He's doing that quite well on his own. For someone practicing law nearly 25 years, he's really good at destroying himself. He's great. He is a pro at self-sabotage. Those allegations may sound paranoid, if not outright delusional. Well, you could say that again. That could be highlighted and put into someone's patient file. The psychiatrist could use that for something. Unfortunately, they are accurate and well supported. Why, thank you. We like being accurate and we like being supported. The JFC cult operates largely on social media, I suppose. The cult maintains a Twitter account, x.com/ClaytonsJustice. If you aren't signed up, do. Which has posted nearly 6,000 times about Miss Owens in the last 2 years. I'm not sure how you count that. It sounds like a made-up number. There's also no reference stating how he may figure that out. So it's obviously just a rambling guess we're trying to make factual, which is, in my opinion, bringing fraud upon the court. If you can't back it up and justify it and explain how you have that evidence, it's not evidence. The cult also maintains an Instagram account, Justice for Clayton Official, on Instagram.com. Follow that one as well. That one's great too. Some of them are more entertaining than others. Some are more entertaining than others, and others are just quite great informational resources. And that one is filled with vile, cruel, disgusting personal attacks against Miss Owens and her family, undersigned counsel David Gingras, and anyone who dares express the slightest degree of support for her. The only people supporting Laura, as far as we have discovered, is you, David, and her family, and that's about it. We haven't found anyone else legitimate who legitimately supports Laura. I think there's a reason for that. I think we know why. The JFC cult thrives on inhumane cruelty. Ooh, so histrionic. One of their favorite pleasures is attacking Miss Owens' physical appearance. The sick individual operating the JFC Instagram account routinely posts images, hundreds of times each week, depicting Miss Owens as a hideously deformed creature, Gollum from Lord of the Rings. Now, that's not nice to Gollum. My goodness. That's Gollum defamation. Who said that? Is it Dave that said that? Someone said that. I think I'm drawing from what I've seen from my other co-creators in this space. That's okay. Plagiarism is the most sincere form of flattery. What does this have to do with the issue of sanctions? Here's what. Respondent's counsel, Omar Serrato, is a prominent supporter of and participant in the JFC cult. Ooh. More than that, Mr. Serrato is also friends with and frequently collaborates with a key cult leader and instigator named Lauren Neidigh. If dear Lauren is a cult leader, then I'm Mother Teresa. Okay, that doesn't make any sense, but it sounded good in my head, so I'm going to roll with it. No, Lauren is not a cult leader. David is so stupid. Anyone who disagrees with David as a cult leader, I'm surprised I haven't been named a cult leader, but I suppose since I don't clearly use my identifiable name, then that makes it more difficult to accuse me of things. So we'll maintain my faceless face and not using all of my real information right off the get-go because it foils their plans to do this kind of bullshit. Oh, let's see. Yes, below is a recent photo of Miss Neidigh and Mr. Serrato appearing together at an event in Arizona. Dun, dun, dun. Everyone can give their cat calls to Lauren and Omar sitting there. Aren't they cute? They are. They're cute. This, of course, has nothing to do with Laura Owens, and I'm sure that Omar and Lauren did not discuss this case because Omar's in the middle of practicing in the case. He's doing his lawyer job. As you can see, they attended an event about Justin and Blake. Those of you who follow Lauren may know she's been deeply entrenched in the Blake Lively, Justin Baldoni case, and they were at an event discussing it, clearly. Of course, David wants everything to be conspiracy because he's just weird, psychopathic in that fashion, in my opinion. And perhaps he was using substances that may precipitate such delusional thinking. Again, that's also my opinion. If the name Laura Neidigh sounds familiar, it should. Lauren was a noted swimmer in the NCAA. She did reasonably well. And she was in an article about coming out and being a swimmer and all those things. She also talked about the struggles of alcohol and those sorts of things. It was a great article, and strangely enough, when I went back and I saw Lauren and that article from like 10 years ago, maybe a little more, I went, oh my God, I read this article when it first came out. No wonder Lauren looks familiar to me. Small world. Small frickin' world. So there she was. She was in an article. Okay, that's not what this filing says, but that's what I wanted to say, because Lauren is not a stranger to being in some news herself, and good news for good reasons, as opposed to people like David trying to drag her into filings and people like Blake Lively trying to order subpoenas for it's just, these people are insane. These are not normal people. How many times do I have to say it? He talks about on the 11th of July, 2 days after the case, Lauren filed a media request. The court denied that. We know this. Just as Lauren filed in Arizona for that case, for the paternity case with Clayton Echard to be broadcast, she did the same for this one. It was denied in this instance. Those things happen. That's just the way it is. Things move on. Miss Neidigh is not associated with any legitimate media outlet. She is simply a YouTuber like Serrato. There's no constitutional definition of media. And there's a reason that there's no such definition. Free speech and media covers a pretty wide latitude as the internet has expanded. It's quite astonishing. I know there's a number of people, particularly those who want to have their secrets covered up by anyone who may discover them on social media and do things like YouTube commentating and content creation. People don't want their nasty, dirty little secrets out there. So, the thing is if we can delegitimize people's free speech and there being public-based media, grassroots media efforts, it makes it harder for those disgusting secrets that people hide, particularly people of prominence, politicians, people of fame, actors, people solidly in the public sphere. The less of an intake funnel there is for the news, the easier it is to hide things. And that's what a lot of these people fear. When all kinds of content creators, YouTubers, what have you, get together and they start comparing notes and then they start talking and they start figuring out all the dirt. There's lots of dirt to be had. Public figures are dirty that way. So there you go. The friendship between Ms. Neidigh and Mr. Serrato is not the only reason why sanctions are appropriate. Rather, sanctions are appropriate because Mr. Serrato filed a groundless pleading, his motion to disqualify, which contained false and disparaging statements about the undersigned made solely to harass. But there's more. At the time that motion was filed, Mr. Serrato knew it served no legitimate purpose. Mr. Serrato, how would he know that? He's not Miss Cleo. He can't read anybody's mind. Anything Mr. Serrato says is illegitimate. It serves no legitimate purpose because I, David Gingras, know all. God, stupid. Mr. Serrato knew the attorney-client relationship with Miss Owens was voluntarily terminated, even though there was no ethical requirement to do so. The relationship was terminated in part to keep this matter simple. No, it wasn't. And to ensure the parties and the court would not waste time dealing with unnecessary collateral disputes, like David Gingras trying to enter the fray as a quote-unquote intervener. But thankfully he was denied by the court. And all of this shrift, all of this used toilet paper was cast aside by the courts. We're reading it anyhow because it serves an entertaining purpose, and that's about it. But Mr. Serrato and Miss Neidigh need collateral disputes. Why? Because collateral disputes provide content for Miss Neidigh's YouTube videos, and every new video means more money. It provides content for everybody's YouTubes. But it doesn't provide me any money. And Lauren hasn't made buckets of money on this either. And as she stated very publicly, Lauren is contributing things to the Mike GoFundMe cause. And speaking of Mike's GoFundMe, you know what? I will bring it up on the tally board at some point here. And we'll also re-include it in the show notes below. So if you feel generous, continuously make sure to keep helping out Mike and his legal funds. I'm sure it's gotten expensive, this little back and forth. So we need to top it off every so often just to help Mike out because we want justice for all victims of Laura Owens, of which Mike is the next into the court system to go to bat against this crazy bitch we call Laura Owens. And while David asserts that's exactly what has occurred, that's not exactly what happened. It's not even remotely what happened. But we continue. Miss Neidigh has released hours of video talking about this case and gloating about how Mr. Serrato roasted and embarrassed the undersigned in his pleadings, including his motion to disqualify. Well, Lauren's not the only one who's roasted and embarrassed the undersigned. Several of us have, because he embarrasses himself. All we have to do is read it, really. I mean, if you say nothing else. He embarrasses himself just reading his own damn filings. It's his own fault, but I like to add another layer of insult to injury because that's what he deserves, and I have the capacity to use that in my free speech. So we add extra layers just for flavor. In these videos, Miss Neidigh repeats every false and defamatory statement contained in Mr. Serrato's pleadings while soliciting money for her efforts. As if there's anything wrong with having money with your YouTube. That's not a crime. That's not a crime at all. And the fact that people have managed to monetize stupidity, such as David Gingras' filings, that's his own damn fault too. Everyone else is just being an entrepreneur. Tough shit. Oh, I love Lauren's thumbnails are great. They're pretty concise. Con artist Laura Owens, attorney, gets roasted in new court docs. I remember that one. It was great. In addition to disparaging Miss Owens, oh boo-hoo. Tell her to put her big girl panties on. And the undersigned, Miss Neidigh has posted videos praising Mr. Serrato for his valiant battle against Miss Owens in this case. Well, as is everybody else talking about it. Because Laura Owens is an indicted fraud. 7 felonies, by the way. I don't know how many more times I can say that in each video without just becoming nauseated by saying it so often. 7-time indicted felon who still hasn't received a plea deal. That doesn't look good for her. And it doesn't look good for Mom. We'll talk about Mom and the Daily Mail article in our next episode. That's a tease, in case you didn't know. We've got it. We'll talk about it. Others have already talked about it, but I want to read through it too because I had some more thoughts about it. So we shall in the future. In his opposition, Mr. Serrato never denies collaborating with Miss Neidigh to attack Miss Owens and to further the JFC cult's goals. That's a fallacious argument. Trying to prove a negative is fallacious. Stupid. Instead, he attempts to downplay the issue, suggesting Gingras' theory that Mr. Serrato filed the motion to disqualify to create new YouTube content is unsupported and unreasonable. Serrato filed one motion on a serious issue and has not created any content related to Owens or Gingras since entering this case in August 25. That's absolutely true. Omar has said nothing about Owens since he entered the case. As a good lawyer would do, that's how they would operate. Especially one that talks about cases. Once they're involved with parties they may have previously talked about, if they're a smart lawyer, unlike David Gingras, they will mute themselves on that issue and wait till after they are no longer involved. And then they will have to be careful because all of that stuff, there's attorney-client privilege, and, a smart, savvy attorney will know what to say and what not to say and the times in which they can do so. This argument misses the point. Regardless of whether Mr. Serrato has paused his YouTube career, his longtime collaborator, Miss Neidigh, has not. So what? Instead, she continues creating new content about this case virtually every single day. Not even close. Not even me. And I've been invested in this one so far, and not much else, other than Mormon podcasters. I can't even get every single day. I would burn out myself. We need time off from this because it's stupid. And the people involved, particularly in Laura Owens' camp, are insane. And you need to take breaks from insanity. As a family member of mine who practiced in psychiatry once said, you can't rationalize with crazy people. And so this leads to the disclaimer, don't ever talk to these people. Avoid them at all costs. I know some people liked to poke at David Gingras on his socials. I didn't even get that close. I didn't want it. I didn't want it, and I didn't want to have a bigger target painted on my back either. Especially one that glows in the dark. Don't need it. Because Miss Neidigh keeps posting the same disparaging content Mr. Serrato previously did. Oh, we're such martyrs. Oh, the persecution complex of Laura Owens. That could be a title. Is that a song title? The persecution complex of Laura Owens? Maybe. I'll workshop that a little bit in my time off. Their plan is obvious. They intend to use this case as a platform for generating and publishing false and defamatory statements and pleadings, which are privileged and protected. No, they're not. They're public. The only thing that could possibly negate that is if evidence and pleadings were sealed. It's unlikely that such things would regularly be so in any court, or at least these sorts of courts. So Miss Neidigh can profit by republishing those lies on her YouTube channel. All he's missing, all David is missing here is Bruce Manskin's polymop things. That's all he's missing is some horrifically named acronym and trying to equate it to, it's the same argument. People are trying to generate YouTube content for money. This is all just fake because they're trying to generate YouTube content for money. Well, it's not true. Just shut up, David, and there wouldn't be anything to talk about. And maybe he'll be shut up for a while. We'll see. Maybe that means there might be something coming from the Arizona bar. That could be exciting too. I'm sure all the eyes and ears are watching closely. You know, someone has a Dewey. Another Dewey appearance coming up in the not too distant future, as memory serves. I can't remember when it was, but it seems like, there's more coming up for him too. While that claim might sound paranoid in any other context, no, you think? The court must understand Miss Neidigh has demonstrated a willingness to do absolutely anything, legal or illegal, to attack, defame, and harass both Miss Owens and the undersigned. If that isn't inviting a defamation lawsuit to David Gingras himself, I don't know what is. When you state that someone's doing illegal actions and you state them factually, that is an actionable statement. He should know better. I don't think in all of his 25 years of practicing that David really practiced very well or at all. That's my opinion. He's pretty bad at being a lawyer. I think I could do better than this. Maybe without even going to law school. That would be fun to see. She has engaged in such conduct nearly every day for almost 2 years. Well, we'll ignore the conditional statements, and just acknowledge the false histrionics as they are. Again, examples are too numerous to include them all. We can't even include one, they're so numerous. We'll just say that they're all too numerous, and by not including in any of them, there's so many. It does make sense. So just consider this, he says. Miss Neidigh recently created a social media profile using the name David Gingras, accompanied by a photo of undersigned's counsel face photoshopped onto Miss Owens' body. Can we zoom in on this? Can I zoom on it any more than I have? Yes, we can. Where'd it go? Oh, come back. Where's the picture? There it is. Oh, that's glorious, isn't it? Laura Gingras, David Owens. I don't know. It's like Victor Victoria, but different. It's kind of funny. Good job, Lauren. That's funny. Oh, we'll read what it says in just a minute. Okay, we'll get there. Using that account, she spends hours each day posting comments in the name of David Gingras, including this fine work of poetry. Oh, it is rather poetic. And I remember Lauren saying this on one of her evening lives that I was observing. David's brain is smoother than a porn star's butthole. I think I almost peed myself when she said that in the live. It was hysterical. And then Bruce said to start asking questions, as only Bruce can. We'll continue on. Is Mr. Serrato liable for the criminal conduct of his friend? No. Miss Neidigh. That's preposterous on its face. What does the footnote say? It is both a tort and a crime in the state of California for any person to knowingly and without consent credibly impersonate another actual person through or on an internet website or by other electronic means for purpose of harming, intimidating, threatening, or defrauding another person. Well, there's a lot of problems with that. Lauren's not in California, number one. And number two, satire and parody is free speech, First Amendment protection. You would have to fight that one in court to be able to claim that one. You cannot just tacitly claim it. He, being Omar, will claim he is not, which would be accurate. But when two parties conspire to engage in unlawful conduct, both may be held liable for the other's actions. You'd have to prove conspiracy. Hypothesis and suppositions and guessing are not factual. It's not even circumstantial evidence in this case. There's a case he notes talking about civil conspiracy. This is just peeing into the wind. The truth is this. There is no question Mr. Serrato filed a groundless pleading which contains knowingly false and disparaging statements. That has to be proven, David. Simply writing things in a pleading or a filing doesn't prove it. and especially when you have no facts to back it up, of which there are none in any of this. There's no question he did so for no valid reason, because he knew the attorney-client relationship was voluntarily terminated before the motion was filed. We're getting there. Within days, that frivolous pleading was turned into a lengthy YouTube video by Mr. Serrato's close friend and co-conspirator who's been unproven, Miss Neidigh. Given the history of extreme hostility shown by both Mr. Serrato and Miss Neidigh towards Miss Owens and her counsel, it is only reasonable to conclude Mr. Serrato and Miss Neidigh intentionally conspired to abuse this court's process by filing the groundless pleading for the sole purposes of harassing and republishing it on YouTubes and making lots of money from it that none of them ever see. Oh, maybe we're there. Have we arrived? Perhaps. The only question is whether the court believes this conduct is acceptable. One party, a lawyer, files groundless pleading containing false statements. They're as false as the statement about my butthole being as smooth as a porn star. My butt may be kind of shiny because I do shave it once in a while, but I won't talk about the porn I watch. Oh, that might be self-incriminating there. His co-conspirator, moving right along, his co-conspirator immediately converts the lie-filled pleading into a YouTube video. If that conduct is acceptable, the request for sanctions should be denied. On the other hand, if this court believes lawyers owe a duty to honor the law and rules of professional conduct, it should send a very clear message to Mr. Serrato. Practicing law is not the same as making YouTube videos insulting other people. YouTube may ignore its own terms of service, but this court is not YouTube, and these proceedings will not be turned into a lawless social media war zone. But it will be on the social medias nonetheless, David. Thank you for that. Next page. The pleadings speak for themselves. As such, only a few points will be mentioned. A, intervention. And we're not talking about my alcoholic intervention and other substances I may or may not use that I may or may not confirm or deny using, especially when I crash out and go on all sorts of fits and temper tantrums and all sorts of insane ramblings and rantings and hysterical shit fits. We'll leave my interventions alone and talk about this intervention. Mr. Serrato argues this court cannot grant leave for the undersigned to intervene. In reply, the undersigned reminds this court Mr. Serrato filed a motion seeking to disqualify undersigned counsel. That motion was based on a lie, i.e., that's informational examples, that undersigned counsel still currently represented Miss Owens in this case. If that lie is true, there'd be no need to intervene. Sanctions could and would have been requested as Miss Owens' current counsel. But Mr. Serrato's representation to the court was false. He knew the attorney-client relationship ended before his motion was filed, even though I just kept writing motion after filing after motion after filing after pleading. I'm going to pretend to be her lawyer even when I'm not, and even when I haven't formally made an appearance. I like to whip it out so much I like to make an appearance before I appear. He also knew the undersigned counsel had never filed a notice of appearance in this case, like I just said, and was not Miss Owens' counsel of record. That specific issue was discussed at length in a 66-minute phone call that, yet again, instead of it being Rachel Juarez and Reality Steve, it was Rachel Juarez and Omar Serrato kicking my ass on the telephone. That specific issue was discussed at so much length during that phone call that 5 days before the motion to disqualify was filed, I got my ass kicked twice. Given these facts, it ultimately does not matter whether this court allows the undersigned to intervene for the limited purpose of stealing money from Omar, getting sanctions from Omar without actually being a party to the case, or whether the motion is treated as filed by the undersigned as Miss Owens' current counsel. Despite this actually not being true, even though it is, but I'm going to say it isn't. Either way, when a lawyer lies and files a groundless pleading, as Mr. Serrato did here, because I'm just a lying bitch, the court has the power and the duty to impose sanctions. The exact procedural method of how that issue is raised is largely irrelevant, because I like irrelevant things, and that's how I make my filings, as just a big shitball of irrelevance. Mr. Serrato moved to disqualify a lawyer despite knowing that lawyer had already disqualified himself, even though he's still trying to intervene to this very day, the intervention of social media notwithstanding. Mr. Serrato knew this because he was told so in writing before the current motion was filed. A fact that is undisputed, or at least it should be. Trying to distract from this conduct, Mr. Serrato only makes his matters worse by presenting more lies. He's so full of lies, he's more full of lies than Laura is of babies. Whoops. Specifically on page 4, blah, 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 of the opposition motion, Mr. Serrato states in those sanctiony things that based on the phone discussion, I filed a motion to disqualify due to an obvious Rule 1.7 conflict and other conflicts. And I prepared a motion and told Gingras I would serve those documents. Gingras then said he would not continue representing Owens and sent written confirmation. This statement is another blatant lie from Mr. Serrato. As written, this statement makes it sound like events occurred in this sequence. That Mr. Serrato filed a motion to disqualify due to the rule conflict, then had a phone conversation about the issue, and only after that motion was filed, Gingras then said he would not continue representing Omar and sent written confirmation. This is absolutely false. This is as false as that sonogram that was written by Fiverr. Oops. It's not what happened. Here's what actually happened. A Zoom hearing happened on August 15. We spoke by phone for the 66 minutes with Mrs. And Mrs. And then on August 21, we spoke again. And then on August 21, Omar asked me to write that I was not going to actually show up again. And then August 22, I replied twice by email because I said one of them was sent and one of them was sitting in my saved messages, even though they're all the same. And then I wrote another one that was even shorter. And then I said I wasn't going to represent Laura anymore. And then on 2025, despite knowing that, Mr. Serrato moved to disqualify to cover his ass, which was a smart thing to do because I'm probably going to try and sneak in on a back door. We like that Tony Robbins back door a lot here. Laura likes it a lot. I like it too. We won't talk about the cat. If these facts do not justify sanctions by that CCP there, that CCP has lost all its meaning. That's what I meant. Indeed, keep that in mind. If Mr. Serrato had not moved to disqualify, the outcome would appear to be the same. The undersigned would still not represent Miss Owens and would not appear at trial as her advocate. Further, if Mr. Serrato had not moved to disqualify, the current request for sanctions... Whoops, shit, it got away from me. God damn it. The current request for sanctions would not have been made, nor would Mr. Serrato have made his ex parte request for shortened time. You know, those ex parte things are pretty scandalous. Yes, they are. I've tried to write many, and so has Laura. She liked to talk to that duty dude. She wanted to ex parte him in his chambers. Never mind. All this time and effort was completely unnecessary, but if Mr. Serrato had not moved to disqualify, only one thing would have happened. Miss Neidigh would be deprived of valuable content for her YouTube channel. That is precisely why Mr. Serrato's motion was filed. If this conduct does not warrant sanctions, nothing does. And as noted in the motion, the safe harbor provision of the ruling applies if the alleged action or tactic is in the making or of a written motion that can be withdrawn or appropriately corrected. It's not Rule 26, but it works just as well. Here, the safe harbor does not apply because the harm caused by Mr. Serrato's misconduct cannot be undone by allowing him to withdraw the offending pleading. Furthermore, the misconduct is not limited to just the pleading itself. Mr. Serrato lied to this court, and he did so knowing the false statements in his disqualification motion would be immediately republished on YouTube by his co-conspirator, Miss Neidigh. During her break from using the undersigned's name to post comments about the texture of a porn star's buttholes. You know, once is funny. Once is funny. Doing it again is asking for a punchline. It really is. Well done, Lauren. Oh, my God. The harm caused by that conduct has already occurred. Now I have to go get a Brazilian front and back wax every time my wife sees me. Jeez. Allowing Mr. Serrato to withdraw his motion would serve no other purpose. Thus, the safe harbor does not apply, and this court can and should impose significant sanctions. My additional comments are that the significant portion of Mr. Serrato's opposition on pages 16 to 21 is devoted to downplaying his threatening YouTube videos and suggesting they do not warrant a referral to the state bar. As noted in the original motion, videos published by Mr. Serrato include fake images showing him physically assaulting undersigned counsel. I call myself the Connor MacGregor of litigations, and he's beating my ass in an AI photoshopped picture. That just ain't right. It should be the other way around. If we're going to have them pictures, it should have been the other way around, and then I'd be okay with it. The other videos posted by Mr. Serrato feature fake images showing Miss Owens being punched in the face and crying. I don't remember that one. Does anyone remember that one? I don't remember anything about her getting punched. Now, we did have the Boohoo Booby crying video with Laura Owens and her fake tears from her, I think it was Facebook. where Steve called me a dumbass. I have no name. I have no legacy. I have no money. That one. Well, it didn't quite go exactly that way, but you know the one we're talking about. Mr. Serrato's response is, in effect, "Aw, but those are a joke, man. No big deal, right?" To be clear, the reason Mr. Serrato's videos warrant referral to the state bar is not because he perceives them as a joke. The reason is also not because they were interpreted as an actual serious threat by Miss Owens, undersigned counsel. They were not. Then what's the problem? Other than it's free speech she doesn't like. The reason these videos warrant discipline is because this is domestic violence case. And we want to make the argument that anyone talking about other things can be held for punishment in this case. Miss Owens suffers from an acute persecution complex, just like Mormons do. Anytime something happens to a Mormon, it's the whole world is out to get them, even when they're not. All of the JFC cult is after Laura Owens, even when they're not. That's what this is all about. It's because all of the parties in the case are being supported by an online cult. That cult has a name. It's called the JFC cult. And I'm going to say, as Dingus the Douche Canoe,
The fucking douche canoe.
that cult is run by Laura Neidigh and Omar Serrato. Oh dear, what have we done? What have we discovered? Mr. Serrato may think violent images are merely a joke to him, but that is not the point. The point is thousands of people are following the case, including countless anonymous faceless members of the JFC cult. Many of those members have displayed clear signs of significant mental illness. Where's the citation there? Where is the citation there, you lying sack of shit? There isn't any. He's making it up, as we already know. In this context, the concern is not that Mr. Serrato thinks violent images are a joke. The concern is some unknown member of the JFC cult could easily misconstrue these jokes as an encouragement to engage in actual violence towards Miss Owens. Given the current political and social climate in this country, this is entirely unacceptable. We need to silence free speech entirely, because anything we don't like can be used against everybody. It'll fan the flames of vigilantism, and it'll do bad things. Political commentator Charlie Kirk was recently shot by a vigilante and killed in front of a crowd of students in Utah, likely in response to his divisive online rhetoric. Paul Pelosi, husband of former Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi, was recently attacked and viciously beaten with a hammer in his home. Why I've got a picture of tidy whities and a hammer, I don't know, but we're going to use it because I've got a hate boner for Donald Trump Jr. and Donald Trump. My TDS is on full display in this filing too. How did the son of the President of the United States respond? By laughing about it in a social media post. Whoop, I've already talked about the tidy whities. And they're not even Fruit of the Loom. They're Hanes. That's too bad. In 2010, former Governor of Alaska Sarah Palin posted an image showing several battleground states she hoped Republicans would win. That image showed crosshairs similar to a rifle scope covering several targets, including Tucson, Arizona. Just weeks later, a mentally ill man appeared in Tucson and shot U.S. Representative Gabrielle Giffords in the head. Giffords was severely injured but survived. A federal judge was killed. Blah, blah, blah. We must do more to stop political, social, and legal disputes from turning violent. We must silence free speech. We must chill speech so badly that no one says anything of that I don't like, including about Laura Owens, my dear little girl Laura. What one person sees as a harmless joke may easily be mistaken for encouragement, even permission to engage in violence. For a lawyer like Mr. Serrato to fan the flames of a rabid, vicious cult with fake photos of Miss Owens being punched in the face in a domestic violence case is incomprehensible. Miss Owens has come to this court seeking help and protection from a man who she claims has harmed her. Miss Owens should not also have to worry about that counsel for the respondent is actively encouraging people to punch her in the face or worse. Now we'll take just a little moment here to point out some distancing language, only because it's just flashing bright red lights in my face. When David says, protection from a man who she claims. You notice that? The phrasing here is very specific. Who she claims has harmed her. It's not that he did harm her. It's that she claimed harmed her. See, there's distance. Jack Fox is right. Even the lies betray themselves. Astonishing, isn't it? Mr. Serrato thinks that asking a litigation opponent if they want a gun smoke is not a little promise of bodily harm. Op at 1620. It's just a joke, not a true threat. No big deal. Maybe to him it's not, but what about the angry, mentally disturbed person sitting out there in someone's basement, watching every minute of YouTube coverage posted by Mr. Serrato and Mrs. Neidigh? What might they think? What might they do? We must stop them for thought crimes before they happen. Where are our precognated people swimming in the pool, giving us little billiard balls of who the next criminal is? We need that right now. Say I dingus the douche canoe. Even if a ball comes that has my name on it, I'd never do anything wrong. Never mind. As noted in the initial motion to intervene, a lawyer in Florida recently disbarred for similar conduct. Blah, 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 blah. Mr. Serrato's images of Miss Owens being punched in the face are funny or joke, but or do they justify removing him from the legal profession? If words are enough to do that, I can't imagine what my DUI might do to my career, where I could actually run over and kill people without even knowing it. But never mind that. That decision should be made by the State Bar of California and, if necessary, the Supreme Court of California. This court should ask them to make that call urgently before someone dies. And it's signed, motion to blah, 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 by Dingus the Demented Douche Canoe.
The fucking douche canoe.
Okie doke. That's enough for Dingus for this evening. And in our next video, I think we'll talk about the Daily Mail article. Jan Black tells all in that article. As some of you may know from looking at others reading it, I wish to cover that as well because it's the first interview we've had in all of this, presuming that it wasn't before the actual indictment of Laura Owens on her 7 felony counts. We don't know quite when that article was sussed out. I mean, there's a published date and all that other stuff, but when the interview happened. And there are some interesting things to point out in the article. Things that Mommy Dearest talks about, and Laura pointing to Mommy Dearest, and some other little juicy tidbits. So until we get to that one, we'll see you in the next one. Thanks for joining me here. Make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell, all the usual things to tickle the algorithm. And stay tuned until then.